Hello there again, guys and girls. Welcome to race 1 of my career mode with Marussia. Of course, we're in sunny Australia for this weekend. My objective there is to finish 20th or above in qualifying. First, going to take you through the setup that I got off the Codemasters forums by a member called Lucas. Front wing angle is 8 and rear wing angle is 7. The braking is split 50-50 with a brake pressure of medium. The brake size you can't change, unfortunately. Front anti-roll bar is 7 and the rear anti-roll bar is 6. Suspension, the front ride height is at 2 and the rear ride height is at 3, with both front and rear spring stiffness set at 8. The gearbox, for first gear I moved it left 1 click, left gears 2 to 6 standard, right in the middle, and gear 7 I've put at 316 km an hour, which is 1 left click from the right. The alignment I've set all the way over to the left, so that's 3.5, 1.5, 0.15 and 0.5. That's my setup. Here is my fastest qualifying lap. Not the best way to start it, bouncing off a wall and trying to stay off the grass. So 7th gear coming into this first corner, brake at the 100 metre board, down into 4th, run a little bit wide, and then open the DRS and accelerate as early as possible coming out. Up back into 7th gear. And at the 100 metre board again, drop it right down into 2nd gear. Again, a little bit wide. 3rd gear for this little kink, just sort of hold your acceleration for a little bit. Accelerate right through, full throttle through that right kink. Try not to cut it as bad as I did. At that safety car board, drop it down into 3rd gear for that corner. And then DRS open and full throttle all the way around. This long right-hander. 100 metre board again, drop it down into 2nd gear, and again DRS and full throttle as soon as possible. Trying to keep the car behind me. Staying up into 7th gear, drop it down 2 gears for the quick left corner, and accelerate all the way out of the quick right. 7th gear, approaching this corner, 100 metre board, drop it down into 3rd. Hold your acceleration around that as well, otherwise you'll end up in the gravel. This corner, drop it down 1 from 5th to 4th, and again hold your acceleration, and drop it from 5th down to 2nd for the penultimate corner. And for this final corner, hold your acceleration slightly, and then as soon as you see the exit, full throttle it with the DRS open again, and accelerate up through the gears until you cross the line. So there, my time of 1:31.064 was good enough to just make my target of 20th place. But of course this is Q1, so the positions and people in those positions are all over the place. As you see, Maldonado technically on pole. Both McLarens are there 9th and 10th. And Kimi Räikkönen 17th. Bottom 7 are De Resta, Petrov, me, De La Rosa, Kovalainen, Glock and Carter Cairn right in the back. So after this short loading screen, I see me there in the garage, everyone cheering me because I passed my target narrowly, and my teammate there beat him as well. We start in 23rd. So on to the race, and I believe in my first video for the young driver test I said that the steering was better than the demo. It's still very understeery. And one thing I learnt the hard way was that you have to brake before the corner, whereas in 2011 you could brake going round the corner at the same time. Just running quickly down the order, didn't have time to say who was in what position, but you can read it for yourself. And there you see me in 20th. Going over in a second to my setup screen for my tyres and fuel. For some reason they start you on options, but I prefer to go on the prime and then have a very short stint at the end on the quicker tyres with the low fuel. And I set my fuel strategy to normal, which means that I can't push, or I can push harder, I can be quicker, but there's some fuel saving to be done later on in the race. So here we go then. Just line up, 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5, and we're away straight off. No waiting around. I have noticed that all the cars ahead pull away from me at the start. I think it's a combination of the gearing I had and also the fact that everyone in front of me has KERS. And at this point I would like to apologise for my first few corners driving. It's not the cleanest I've ever done, but that's because the AI are such utter shit. Even on legend mode, they just stop for no reason whatsoever. Especially on this corner. He just stops in front of me, I just run right into the back of him, and they're all waiting for a Sauber to go around it. But luckily, no penalties for making contact. Although someone did spin, because there was a green flag popping up. And now on the hunt for a Williams of Maldonado. Which, I'm probably better off being behind him, to be honest, because the way he drives in this game is very similar to the way he drives in real life. But again, he runs wide a little bit there, and now I've got to go wheel to wheel with him around this fast bit. I was sort of holding my breath, hoping that he wouldn't jerk off to the right, just because it would end badly with me in a wall. And again, they brake far too early for that corner, but also I'm carrying high fuel because it's the first lap of the race. Yeah, and Hulkenberg trying to sneak in a little look there and up the outside. So at the moment, I'm near the end of the first lap. I'm holding P12 out of 22. So 2 people somehow got crushed off in the first couple of corners in that massive melee. And those white arrows at the bottom of the screen, you'll see them popping up a lot because obviously with the Marussia running this high up the order with no curves, what everyone else around him has, everyone was just flying past me like that. But going at this first corner, I could always get them under braking. They always broke sort of 50 metres too early, and I could just easily sail around the outside and just take the corner on the inside for the next one. And then they'd, more often than not, try and make a look down it in turn 3. But again, I'd just brake a little bit later and just cut them straight off. During this little lull in the action, talk about some real world F1 stuff. Just had the Suzuka Grand Prix 4 days ago, and I got to say I was a little bit bored because of course Vettel won again. I fed up of seeing that all last year. It got so boring by the end of it. I just was contemplating not watching the rest of the season because he already had the title locked up in Suzuka. There was still another 4 races left to go, and I just sort of knew every single result was going to end up with him out on top. Although I did watch the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix and I was pleasantly surprised and almost jumped off my sofa hitting the ceiling when I saw him get that puncture in turn 2 and spinning off, facing sideways, watching everyone go by. I just wish someone had had the balls to just wave at him as they drove past. So everyone's dropped back a little bit from me now coming out of that last corner, but of course Kurz has a massive power boost and I don't have it, so they always try and sneak up right into the first corner, and running a little bit wide gives Senna there a little look in, but there's no way he's getting around me. Trying to make my Marussia as wide as possible, and they're always trying to have a look, and there's that starting to form a little Trudy train behind me. Of course Trudy sad, well, not so sadly, gladly not in F1 anymore because his last season was full of whining about power steering. And there, top right corner, mate's constantly wanting to race. Sorry mate, doing a career race, more important. So yeah, what else happened at Suzuka? Kobayashi got a well-deserved podium, which I thought was fantastic, the way that all of the supporters in all the stadiums started chanting his name and clapping in anticipation of him walking out on the podium. And the reaction he got when he crossed the line, I can only imagine what it was like being there. It must have been absolutely deafening. Sad to see JB not get on the podium, but at a home race you'd always want a home race driver on the podium, if not winning the thing, so it was always pleasant to see Kamui up there, especially for his first podium that just happened to be in his home country. Also recently Hamilton's decided to move to Mercedes. Not sure it's a wise decision for 2013, but when these new engine regs come up in 2014, with Mercedes being an engine supplier, I can imagine that they'll get a better jump on how to use the engines than all the other teams that they sell to as customers. So 2014 might see a shake up in the order a little bit. Might finally see Mercedes go back to their Brawn era dominance, at least for the first half of the season. Then like Brawn, they'll sort of collapse and just let Red Bull and McLaren and Ferrari all back in again when they've all caught up on how to use the engines. Again, Senna always trying to have a look in, try and find any way past me, but he's just not having any of it. Also at Suzuka, Grosjean having a complete and utter brain fart, running into the back of Webber and puncturing his tyre, ruining his race completely. Although I must say the funniest thing I've ever heard was Webber in the post-race interview with Natalie Pinkham on Sky, calling Grosjean an utter nutcase and saying that he deserves another holiday. And the best sight was probably Grosjean's sad little puppy dog eyes when he was being interviewed as well. He just looked so upset, but he's had, I think they said, 7 first lap crashes now, and it's just getting beyond a joke. He shouldn't be driving in that car anymore. It's capable of much more than he's getting out of it, especially in race. In qualifying, over 1 lap, he's putting it in some quite decent positions, barring a couple of bad results. But in the races, he's just ruining everything by running into people. Just imagine where Lotus could be now in the Constructors' Championship if he didn't keep having these collisions and retiring the car. It's just utterly ridiculous. And also, Kimi for the win. Hopefully, anyway. We got career in 3 days. So hopefully he might get his first win there, and then he can stop moaning about not having any wins this year. Although he's 3rd in the drivers' standings, so he's not done badly for someone who hasn't won a race yet this year. You can't fault him for that at all. Also on the movement front, Perez has gone to McLaren. Looking forward to that one. It could be pretty exciting, having a very fast driver next to JB, and also a fast driver that can save tyres. It's unreal the fact that Sauber last year could do 1 stop where most of the other cars were having to do 2 or 3. It was just insane, especially that from a rookie driver as well. Of course he had the crash in Monaco that set him back for a couple of races, but he's come out of that so much stronger, and having won 3 podiums already this year, narrowly missing out on the win in Malaysia, and again in Monza chasing down Hamilton, and also finishing above some very good drivers in his podium positions. He overtook Alonso in Canada and Monza, and managed to beat him for 2nd place, or 3rd and 2nd place respectively, which I think is just amazing for a 2nd year driver to be able to do, beating Alonso, a double world champion. Also, Schumacher has now decided it's time to hang up his helmet. I can't say that his return has been glorious. He's had, what, 1 podium in 3 years. To me, that's just, I would say it's not good enough, but they've only had a race-winning car, I'd say, this year, with Rosberg winning in China. But other than that, the car's not really been anywhere. It's just sort of floundered right behind the Ferraris, but just in front of the midfield. So it's going to be sad to see him go, because he's been there now 20 years, or 21 years, but I don't think I would have wanted him to carry on and just flounder like he has done, given his past. You know, 7 world championships is Nothing to really sneeze at. Anyway, back to the action, guys. As you saw there, Hulkenberg tried to take me down at turn 3 and 4, which run me a little wide. I don't know what Senna's doing, because being me that little bump, I don't know what he did. But now that put me off for that corner, and of course, Di Resta and Kobayashi have just sailed past me, with Kovalainen trying to get a little look in, coming into this right-left chicane. Of course, under braking, they're just nowhere. It's so easy to overtake under braking. The hard part is trying to keep them behind you on the straights, because the Caterhams do have curves, whereas I'm just left with standard Cosworth engine power, which isn't really much to brag about. So obviously I'm trying to chase down Kobayashi and Di Resta to try and get my spot back. I almost get a little bit lost there into the wall, so that sort of ruins my chance of trying to claw that position back. And they just stream ahead of me for the rest of the race. And luckily Kovalainen has dropped off my tail. Cutting ahead another lap to lap 8. I've got Hulkenberg now, trying to have a looky down the outside and then switching back to the inside. But of course, first lap, every time, just sail around and cut him off. And luckily, me going around the outside and cutting across him has made him slow down for that turn 3 and 4. Ahead another lap, and exactly the same thing happening. Hulkenberg down the inside again, but this time he's brought a friend who's now right up my arse. But again, just easily outbraking around the outside. And he actually went off there. He's stuck at inside of turn 2. And it was Ricciardo who tried taking me. Hulkenberg's still there. Still trying to get a look in, but not having any of it. I will apologise for my edits here, guys. They are a bit choppy. My next video I should have that sorted out. So again, moving ahead. Another lap. Another attempt. And another outbreaking around the outside. I will be honest, I did leave him plenty of room there if he wanted to take the inside line, but he thought better of it, which was a wise idea. And again, he's trying to look at the inside of turn 3, but it's just not working. Going ahead now to end of lap 12, beginning of lap 13, and all the option runners are starting to pit. So there's Schumacher in the pits, Hulkenberg trying to have another cheeky look around the outside, getting Di Resta just coming out the pits, and now on the hunt for the Hudwood update, Bruno Senna in a Williams, dicing it out with Kobayashi out the pit, hoping to get them on colder primes, but the Cosworth engine has just got nothing on a Ferrari powered one. And they just stream away effortlessly, it seems. I was putting proper effort into this, trying to catch up, but there's just no hope in the end. Cut ahead again, end of lap 15, and got Perez behind me now, trying to get a lookie. And he's even brought Di Resta along, which ruins my plan of going around the outside, so I have to slow down excessively into second gear. And now I've got Schumacher right on my tail, and these two are just going to stream away. I'm alright keeping them behind me, but catching up, the car is just nowhere, especially with Legend difficulty. And of course this is my first race distance using no traction control and no ABS. Cutting a little bit ahead on this lap, but Schumacher trying around the outside. I thought better of it, because I didn't want to spear him off into the gravel, so I'd lose another place. And this little lock up here lets Maldonado have a very good look. He's right at my gearbox, coming out straight out of that corner, and he gets past me really early. And just cuts right across. Or he didn't actually then, but he did several other laps. And just hold him around the outside, try and put him off a little bit, banging wheels, but in the end I just got to concede that he's there. And now I'm front of the back runners, having let everyone else still in the race in front, holding P15 out of 20, so another 2 people have dropped out. And this is lap 17 was my pit stop lap, in case you didn't notice. So I'm just coming around into the pit lane, another car's dropped out. I'm running 1 lap behind on fuel, so I've had to swap the engine down into lean. And now time for the very slow crawl down to the end of the pit lane to the Marussia garage. Let's see how good this stop is. They could have let me go so much earlier, but instead it's a 5.2 second stop. Not the best. And because of that, it now lets Kovalainen come past me out the pits. And I just got to go easy for the first couple of corners because cold tyres. It's a recipe, cold tyres and full throttle is a recipe for going in the wall coming out of a corner. Kind of head to lap 19, passing Karthikeyan and Glock in the pit lane. And I've now got now comes the dreaded bit of the race where all the blue flags come out. And luckily Karthikeyan is a good 12 seconds behind, and it's just annoying having to go offline and slow ridiculously to let the AI pass, because if you don't slow down properly, they just sit behind you and sit behind you, and before you know it you've gone past 3 blue flags and you got a penalty for ignoring blue flags, which is just ridiculous. So they had 3 lap cars in the space of, I don't know, 4 or 5 corners, so I'm proper struggling at the back of the field, and now I've got another one coming down at turn 1, but he's not getting there. 10 seconds down on Kovalainen in front, and 11 back to Karthikeyan. I'm sorry that you can't see who's passing me and what position they're in, but the driver tags were in the way of my braking zone, so I couldn't see the braking zone and I crashed a couple of times. So I decided to turn them off. Gonna head to lap 21 and another blue flag episode. Karthikeyan has caught right up. He's now 7 seconds behind. He's gained 4 seconds in the space of a couple of laps just because of blue flags. And Kovalainen has streaked ahead. Although on this lap he's dropped back half his time. Obviously blue flags catching him out as well. And Karthikeyan's caught up another 3 seconds on me, with another person just taking his time to come round. Stupid Sauber. So obviously now I've been lapped, I don't have to complete the full 29, but I have to do 28 instead. So I'm just going to wait a couple more laps, then might put the engine up into rich mix, so I get that little bit of boost so I can try and get away at least a little bit from Karthikeyan behind. But this blue flag annoyed me. He just didn't want to come past it in that corner, so I had to run ridiculously wide into the last corner. Got very slow on the exit, which allowed Karthikeyan to just come straight up. Coming ahead now to my penultimate lap, or my last lap now. Karthikeyan actually caught up so much he got past me on that straight, but of course good old trick of round the outside, keeping him behind me, and now he's got a blue flag, indicated by a little blue ring round his car in the mini-map. Who's now going to come and ruin my race. And this was the worst feeling, having to allow a faster car past at a decent spot without losing too much time, that Karthikeyan got past me and I couldn't keep up. It was horrible. I was on edge for this entire last half a lap. Obviously at the top, and now Alonso won. Yeah, I suppose that's good for his title. And again, just coming up this bit, for some reason they had more speed than me on the straight, which I don't understand, because HRT is just utter shit. That it shouldn't really be anywhere. Almost lost the car coming around that corner, cut it a bit too much. Tried the engine in Rick's mix, but thought better of it. Didn't want to run out of fuel right on the straight and let him pass for that place, so just drop it down a little bit. And it's just trying to keep him behind me for these last few corners, just with everything I could. Just even braking a little bit earlier into my braking zone, just so I made the corner and didn't accelerate off wide. And I will also apologise for this little move, but I didn't want him getting me before the line. I had a little crunch of his front wing. But luckily no penalty for me. So there we see finishing 15th, passing my objective of 19th or above, with Timo Glock finishing 2 places behind. This is how it finished. So Alonso from Rosberg and Raikkonen completing the podium, with Grosjean not running into anyone for a change, finishing 4th, Vettel 5th, Webber 6th, Massa followed by Kobayashi, Senna, Schumacher, Sergio Perez in 11th, Hulkenberg 12th, Maldonado 13th, Heikki Kovalainen 14th, me finishing in 15th, Karthikeyan right behind me in 16th, and Glock and Pedro De La Rosa completing the finishers. All those DNFs. Di Resta, Button, Ricciardo, Hamilton, Vernon, Petrov all didn't finish the race. So of course, driver's title stands like that, with Alonso, Rosberg, Raikkonen the top 3 cars. Just run through the rest of the order for you. And make everyone get a screen grab of that. It's not ever you will see a Marussia higher than a McLaren in the Constructors' title. I was extremely proud of that. But of course, not knowing they crashed out, I didn't know until the end, so I was pleasantly surprised. Again, all high fives, congratulations. Lots of head nodding. Yes, I did the right job. I beat your target. Well done, me. Race engineer's pretty happy for me, as he bloody should be for that race. Applaud everyone in the garage. And first news item that you get, you go back to loan screen. It's about Ferrari winning the first race. And of course, the next race is up in Kuala Lumpur. Here's my ranking. Surprised I didn't reach rank 2, having passed both objectives, but 1.5's not bad. So of course, next race is Malaysia. Hopefully I'll get that recorded soon. If you could please like, comment and subscribe, and thanks for watching. Bye.